Welcome to Naperville Notables. I'm Liz Spencer. Today I'm talking with Nicki Anderson, CEO of the Naperville Area Chamber of Commerce, and we're going to find out about her passion for both business and the community. So let's jump right into this. Many people know you as Nicki Anderson, fitness expert, reality fitness, Sun columnist, all these things that say fitness. Mm-hmm. So tell me a little bit about how that started, because I think I knew it, but I didn't realize it because I look at you and I think, wow, wonderful, beautiful.
You know, I think the reason why I had really great success in my business was because of where I came from. Mm-hmm. I was never a particularly active kid. I think riding my bike was pretty much the extent of it. And that was only if I had to, probably to go get something. But I was very inactive, and when I got into my preteen and early teen years, I ate whatever I wanted and didn't move. And so over time I became a really, really deconditioned teen. And I didn't know it until I was a junior in high school, and there were just some things happening and what people were saying that I became aware of it. I'd always been, pretty carefree, happy-go-lucky, but it was really causing problems with me being active. So I decided to make a change, and at the time, Weight Watchers was a very practical program. It was all about, colorful plates, which is what I tell people to this day. We tend to eat a beige diet here in Midwest. So it just got back to basics, eating well, hydrating well, moving more. You didn't have to be a super athlete. You just had to move your body and eat well. And I really loved the simplicity of that. So when I became a mother and had children, I heard all of these horrible things that women were saying about their bodies and what they were doing in an effort to achieve this perfection, which is another issue with me. But I said, there needs to be someone out there with a voice that can really direct these people, these women, to making choices that make sense versus making choices because of peer pressure.
You actually had a job at a gym.
Yes.
Is right out of high school, or
yes,
during, and
yes.
That was like one of your first jobs?
Yeah, after Mr. Donut. Kind of. And this is kind of a great story because this really was what catapulted my business later in life. I went to work for a health club because it was right after I had lost all my weight. And I loved working with the people there because they were there for all the wrong reasons. They were there to hit a number. I was there just to help them understand the value of being active and to embrace it for all the right reasons. And I actually got fired because I spent too much time with the people. So, i.e., we don't need customer service. Once we get, the members, then we don't care. So that really stayed with me. So I knew when I started my business that the most important thing that I could do for people coming through my doors was to give them excellent customer service, and I still hang true to that today.
Well, and where was this taking place? Was this in
Texas?
In Texas, because again, Anderson is the last name, but that's your married name. So,
right.
And you're just so ingrained, and you give back. We just always assume you were just born and bred in Naperville.
Well, lived here for a while, actually.
Yeah,
and then moved away for a little bit and then came back.
Okay.
So
they called you home.
Yeah, yes, absolutely.
The other interesting thing that I think, again, comes into who you are is that you started out more artistic. You were talking about being in high school and that team, but you were in theater. You were a singer.
Thespian.
Yes.
Still am.
Yes, right. But I think we all, when we see you on Dancing with the Stars, there's a celebrity version here, and then recently you sang the national anthem. Mm-hmm. We all think, wow, that's awesome. She did a great job. She's so creative. But this is really in your blood. You wanted to do this.
I love singing. Always have. I'm not great at it, but I just love it. But I love it. That is sort of my, I don't know, it's a therapy for me. Mm-hmm. I play guitar, and I just enjoy music in general, I think, but musical theater was really my favorite thing. I might have shared this with you before, but the reason I came back to Chicago was for Second City. I had a connection, and I was going to pursue that avenue, and then I met my husband, and well, the rest is history. So.
And how did you and Bill meet?
I rented an apartment upstairs from he and his brother. And he was a big White Sox fan. I had a very good friend that played for the White Sox. And when we first met, I said, you wouldn't be interested in going to a White Sox game. And well, the rest, as they say, is history.
Well, that's cool.
So
So you've got a really interesting mix of, personal motivation for the fitness that, you move into a career, this artistic background. And so you were very successful with Reality Fitness. I was a client of yours.
You were?
I was
yes.
at a plateau.
Thank you for that.
Oh, okay. No, but I was at a plateau. I had heard about you, and I'd read about you and read your columns. And I thought, well, here's somebody I can go talk to, and sure enough, helped me out, and moved me along, and then and helped us become better friends, which I really love. And then you got this notion of, hey, the chamber has an opening.
Right.
It's a little bit of a CEO job, and I should apply.
Well, it was interesting because I knew when my time was done in the fitness industry. I felt like I had done everything that I wanted to do, and that it was time to move on. My kids were all grown and gone, and I was very passionate about a couple not-for-profits that I was volunteering for, and I said, maybe it's time to sell the business. I really love writing, as you know. That's a passion for me. Right there with music, it is a passion. So I said, you know what? I'm going to sell my business, and I'm going to spend more time writing and more time giving back to the community that has given me so much. And about a year and a half into that, I was having a conversation with someone. They say, hey, the chamber's looking for a new CEO. I think you'd be good. I was like, no, I don't want to do that. And then I talked to a couple other people. But when I had my business, I had been a chamber member for the whole time I had my business. Whenever I travel, one of the things that I did was I traveled extensively teaching small business owners in the fitness industry how to run a successful business. And I always ask them, are you a member of your local chamber of commerce? And if they don't have one, start one, because it's the reason that I truly believe I was a really good business owner, or a business manager, if you will, in our community. So I owe a lot of my success to being part of the chamber. So when that came up, I went, maybe it's something I should look into. I'm passionate about the chamber. I love helping people, so I know that there are small business owners that might be looking for some input or some advice or suggestions on ways to be successful. So I decided to throw my hat in the ring, and after a year and a half, I got antsy, so it was probably the timing was perfect. And I can't believe what a great fit it is. I've really had to stretch in some areas of this position, but in other areas it feels like home.
Neat. Well, I think it's interesting that the chamber was struggling with that CEO position. They had gone through 3 in 6 years, which isn't what you want, and so you're the first woman. And I hate to say, oh, you're the first woman, and ask what does that mean, but there is something different about a woman leader. And what do you think that brings to it?
I mean, you can read study after study on why women make great leaders. So I think in an organization like this, there needs to be, and I'm not insinuating that men aren't compassionate or empathetic, but I think we approach leadership in a different way. And in this type of environment, I think it lends itself to more of female leadership, simply because I mean, the number of small businesses that I deal with, not just because I had a small business and was a small business owner, but I love listening to their story. I think of ways that I can creatively help them be successful. I'm very dedicated to their success, and again, not saying that a man couldn't, but I think that's a better strength of a woman, is to be a little bit more compassionate and to be a better listener. I think part of the problem sometimes too with companies or chambers, this chamber, is that you look so hard to find that perfect person. And the reality is, in my humble estimation, the perfect person is someone who loves the community and loves business. And that, I love our community, I love business, I love helping people succeed. So it really was a fit. The other things I'm learning, and it's been good for me. I like to put myself in a situation where I'm a little uncomfortable so that I'm forced to learn, because I love to learn. So, yeah.
Well, it's that push that you need to push yourself. And I think that really parallels to fitness, because we all kind of want to be active, but we want to be active and comfortable, which that doesn't progress you down the... No, you've got to be uncomfortable and sweating.
Do I want to run today or walk? I think I want to walk.
Right.
It sounds so much easier.
Yeah, right, exactly. I'm moving.
And I say it to people all the time that come in here and talk to me about their business, and I say, look, it's like a health club membership. Just because you join the chamber doesn't mean that your business is going to, rise to success. It's the work that you put into it. I mean, half of it is showing up, and the rest is you got to do the work. We will support you. We will give you the resources that you need, but you got to do the work. And sometimes that's not what people want to hear. So there's a lot of parallels to being in this role compared
and being a personal trainer.
Absolutely.
Right. I also think the small business owner aspect or entrepreneur. I mean, they can go interchange. Moves you and spurs you on a little bit more than someone who's used to a bigger corporate environment where there's a lot more structure built in.
Well, and I think what we saw happen is that after the fall of 2008 is that a lot of people that were let go of these big businesses started their own, never realizing the work that goes into it. I mean, it's a 24/7 job. You don't get to call in sick, and if you do, you lose sales that day.
Right.
I started my first business in 7th grade. I know what it takes to make things happen.
And what did we do in 7th grade?
I made jewelry.
How fun.
Yeah, I made jewelry, but it sold. I found this niche, and there was some girl that had something called a baby bracelet. And her parents had gotten it on vacation, and I went to the store. I don't know what made me think of it, but I did, and it was wildly successful. The other thing that I did was I held a carnival in my backyard to raise money for Ronald McDonald. This was back 72, 73. And I think I had like 60 people show up and made like $500.
Wow.
Yeah, so I've always had that, let's see how we can create something and help people, and yeah. So.
Well, and it's thinking out of the box a little bit, and that's where I think the recession, recent recession, really forced a lot of us to look and think, well, how can I do things differently? Because the way I was doing it was supported with a lot more money than is coming in right now.
Exactly. And I think another common mistake that businesses make is they tend to get comfortable when things are good. When money's coming in, they're like, yay. That's really the time that they need to analyze, okay, this is good, but we know that the other shoe's going to drop at some point. If it doesn't, okay, but it's going to. So how are we preparing ourselves? This is great, but you really need to pay attention when things are good, because you need to make sure that 5 years down the road, you're well prepared, that you're not just getting caught up in all of this, falderall. I remember in the latter 90s when everybody was just throwing money away. And if those people would have taken that money and invested it differently, I mean, it was stupid money. And I saw this in big corporations, events in my industry, and now all of those events are gone. What would have happened had we thought a little bit differently and a little bit more creatively?
Well, I think it goes to another parallel to fitness, which is discipline. It's that small business owner, and NCTV is not very different from a not for profit. We're a small business,
Right.
so but you're working hard, and man, when you get up there a little bit, you want to go.
Yeah.
But you've got to keep
going.
because that plateau, that little rest can't be long, because otherwise you can't get up that hill again.
You're exactly right.
That hill gets a little too steep. I think of the American business, some astronomical, over 95% are small business owners, are entrepreneurs, where we all assume it's really, it's corporate ruling the business world, and it's really the entrepreneur, the small.
We keep this country afloat, small business owners. We
Yes.
keep people employed. We employ 3/4 of the population. So knowing that statistic's pretty impressive. So.
It is. So when you think about being the CEO when you got here, and that, what was your first impression? Was it overwhelming? Was it what you expected?
I think the first thing that bothered me a little bit when I came into this position, how many people go, oh, you're Nicki Anderson, the fitness person. I kind of wanted to shed that, because I don't want you to go, oh, you're great at this because you were good at what you, I didn't want that perception. Mm-hmm. I'm coming in, this is completely different. My role is different. In that I'm not working for myself, I'm working for all of you.
Right.
I had a board. I had never had a board. If I wanted to make a change, I made a change. If I wanted to hire or fire somebody, I hired or fired. I didn't have to ask anybody.
Right.
Now I have 22 people to ask and to approve any decisions that I make. I sort of love it because they're your partners in business, which is kind of nice. I tend to be very. I hate to use the word impulsive. That sounds irresponsible. I'm responsibly impulsive. And yet sometimes when I hear someone else saying, well, have you really thought about it this way? I'd go, okay. And I do listen to what other people say, but it's been, a good exercise for me because it's really forced me to slow down instead of going, got to do this, got to get this done, got to get this done. So
you have not been afraid to challenge some of the traditions and say, this isn't working, or this doesn't work any longer, and move something out?
I think to be successful in any business, that's what you have to do. And sometimes it's hard, and sometimes it's not popular.
Right.
But the reality is, if we're to succeed and do well, and here's the thing, I'm making these decisions to make a better organization for you, not for me. This is for you.
Right.
So if I can make these decisions and understand the impact this will have down the road, positive impact it'll have, why wouldn't I do it? And that's why I have this position, because I have to make those decisions.
Right, I kind of refer to it as change management. And when you when you have new leadership, change happens, and you have to kind of manage that change because it's traumatic.
Well, and I think too, I was very mindful on not doing everything overnight, because I wanted to come in and just completely redecorate the house. And you can't do that. You have to be mindful of the staff that's here. You have to be mindful of members that are used to having things the way that they like it. And although that's great, and I certainly respect that, I want to make things better for you, because if I'm not really taking a look at what needs to improve, and I'm not taking those chances to improve, then you don't get any better, and it doesn't do either of us any good.
Well, and a new person brings in that fresh perspective.
I think so.
Yeah. You can get caught in a rut and not know how to get out of that rut.
Absolutely. And I think for me, the rut comes from boredom. I am amazed that after 2 years, I come in to work at 7 o'clock. I can't believe when I look at the clock and it's 5:30, 5:45, or I have a 5 o'clock ribbon cutting, and where did the day go? So no 2 days are the same, which I love. My business was like that too. You never know what the next day is going to bring. But what I love about it is that I have an incredibly loyal, hardworking staff. I'm very fortunate in that. This is a job where you're working on all 12 cylinders. Is it 12? All 12 cylinders.
I was going to say 8, but you could have 12. I think 12 fits you.
Cars, not my thing. On many cylinders. And they step up every time. And it's hard for me to do all of that. We have, one of my challenges I was sharing with you above and beyond my board, which, by the way, I have a great board as well, is legislative.
Because you're an advocate, a business advocate.
Business advocate. We go to Springfield, we go to DC, we talk to our legislators, our senators, our congressmen, our representatives. Most recently, we dealt with the sales tax locally, how that affects our business members. So this is a whole new area for me. I've found it a lot more fascinating than I thought I would. Politics is a really, really interesting occupation.
It is. Yeah.
So it's been a really, really worthwhile journey for me. And I know this much, but it's amazing what I knew when I came in here, which is basically nothing, and what I know now, and what I look forward to learning as I move forward.
Well, I think many of us forget that that's part of our chamber membership, and that
They do.
And not only of our chamber membership, because businesses, whether they're a member of the chamber or not, are benefiting from your advocacy on the behalf of that small business. And I think we forget all the time.
Well, what I have learned, and it's amazing to me, is that people don't think it impacts them. They don't really care. They don't pay attention. I remember when I spoke to a legislator the first time, or actually the opposite, I just sat there and stared at him because I didn't know what to say. And what I've learned is they want to hear from you. That's how they gather information and make decisions. And if they're not hearing from you, out of sight, out of mind. So what I have really learned, I have no problem calling Senator Durbin's office or Congressman Roscom's office if I have a question or I want to invite them to come speak at the chamber. They're there for that reason. I was initially very intimidated and, I don't know enough. That doesn't matter. Your voice needs to be heard. And if there's an issue that you want to know more about, come ask us. We'll certainly walk you through it. But I think the most important thing is just paying attention, because everything that goes on in Springfield ultimately impacts you either personally or professionally. So it's important to pay attention. That's really kind of my soapbox as I move into 17, because I was that person who went, no big deal, I don't pay attention. Someone will take care of it for me. But here's a perfect opportunity for your business to be in the mix and to be listening to what's going on.
Right. Well, I think you really hit it on the head that most people just don't think their voice counts. It's why they don't vote. whether it be a local election or a national, they think, oh my gosh, that's just not going to matter. Oh yeah, it does. That's another one on the whatever side you're on.
Well, and I think I realized it too because Bill will put signs in the yard, and we have a neighbor that looks at the signs and goes, oh, that's who I'm voting for. You know, don't you want to know about this person? I mean, you own a painting business. What if I said 3 of these guys are anti-painting? They're going to shut down all the small painters. You know, how do you know? And so when you blindly go out and vote just because someone said so versus, and there's so many easy ways you can learn about candidates and learn about your legislators. It just seems boring, but if you're in business, you got to let it be part of your knowledge base.
That's right. Right, and yeah, it's funny with politicians too. We may love them and hate them at the same time, but they're doing it, and it's a big job. It's a big job.
People have asked me, "Oh, Nicki, you should." No, thank you.
No, thank you. No, thank you.
I'm very happy doing what I do.
So tell me a little bit, and we've touched on it, but how would you describe your leadership style? You're the CEO of this organization. I'm curious.
I wish my staff were here. I'd love to see if they agree with me. I think when I first came in, which is not me, I micromanaged a lot, and that was because I was trying to get a handle on all the different, moving parts, as I mentioned earlier. I would say I love to empower people. I love to take someone and give them a task that maybe they didn't think they could do, and coach them through it and allow them to experience that kind of success. We have all women working here. I think that we know that women typically question themselves a little bit more than men do. So I really like to create a culture of empowerment and support and collaboration. I would say that that's probably more of my leadership style. I love to see people rise.
That's great. Someone had described you to me as purpose-driven.
Oh yes, I always have a purpose.
Purpose, right? Yeah, goal-oriented.
Yes.
Yeah.
And I don't know if it's so much goals though, as it is a purpose. I have a purpose, and my purpose is to make a positive impact on everybody that I connect with. I don't know what it'll look like. It might not be immediate, but maybe down the road I see that you need something, and I have that opportunity to be able to help you. But that's really important to me.
And that kind of gives me a lovely transition into some of the community service works. I know one of the times that you and I collaborated was with Loaves and Fishes, and you were passionately involved with them. And then another time at 360 Youth Services. And you've been involved throughout the community, but those two struck me. Because you were so touched by them, so driven by them. How did they impact you, and why is that important for you to do something like that?
Well, we live in a very, very blessed community. And we have everything that we need. As I always say to my kids, do you need it or do you want it? Because there's a big difference. And we have everything we need and want, really, where we live. We're very, very fortunate. Yet there are many that live in our community that don't. They just have barely what they need. This opened my eyes to that. I'll share a great story with you from 360. I was going through their boys program, and this is from 12 to 15. And I walked in there, and they were showing the house where these boys live, and the therapists that live with these young men are saints, I'm telling you. I joke with them all the time and say there's a special place in heaven for you. But these boys have stuff. I mean, they're from DSF, and they send them to this program. And forgive me, I'm blank on it now. So I was
Cornerstone.
Cornerstone. Thank you so much. So I was looking through. They were taking me through a house through the tour and showing me the boys' rooms and what they're doing. So impressive, and the leaders of this program are amazing. So I go down to the basement, and there was this little rack with clothes on it. Okay, typical suburban mother. So is this where they keep their winter clothes? Why that would even come out of my mouth, I have no idea. And they looked at me, they said, no, most of the kids just come here with the clothes on their back. I cried for 24 hours. Like, number one, how could you ask that question? But I didn't know.
Right.
It was a reasonable question for someone who has wants and needs met, right? So that inspired me to create something called My Closet, which is basically a place where kids can go when they come to 360 to get some clothes. Many of the kids, not just in the Cornerstone program, but in their transitional housing program, come with nothing. These are homeless young adults. And so we and Deb Carr, who's the head of the THP program, created this My Closet, which they've done great things with it, but it was just problem solving, you know, a purpose. And that impacted me when I volunteered at Loaves and Fishes, and I was working the floor, and I had all of these lovely people come in that were having to shop at Loaves and Fishes because they didn't have the income that could help, you know, subsidize food for their family. And many kids come in always happy. You know, very few people came in with a chip on their shoulder. Oh, it's so good to see you. Thank you for being here. Who does that? So, you know, you take your life for granted sometimes, and this was a constant reminder that, man, oh man, I am the luckiest woman in the world. So, yeah.
How do you think that experience has impacted you as CEO?
I guess it goes back to the compassion. You know, I mean, when I see people that are risking everything to open up a business, that's huge. I mean, if it didn't work, they lose everything. And you know, you see these people coming in with these dreams and these hopes, and I want to support them through that. And I also want to help them make good choices. So I like to bring my experience in and say, hey, you know, you might want to think about this, or hey, have you thought about this? But what I love doing most of all is finding people and connecting them so that they can build friendships. In the chamber, it's amazing the long-term friendships that have come out of the chamber. Not to mention, I think we've had 5 marriages out of the chamber that I'm well aware of. So we really bring people together, but those businesses I love to bring together are large corporations that sometimes chambers take for granted. I've really made an effort to reach out to them from an advocacy standpoint. Hey, you know, let me help you. I know you have your own lobbyists, but if there's something we can educate our chamber on, let me help you do that. I never want to take mom and pop or big business for granted, because they all help make the chamber what it is.
Well, and the chamber also embraces the not-for-profit, which I think is an interesting dynamic as well.
Part of our community. What is a community without not-for-profits? You know, and of course we know here in Naperville we have an abundance.
Yes, right. We're very good at the not-for-profit. And there's not, one of your predecessors, when I first became ED, when I came in to chat with him about it, he just said, you know, Liz, you know, run it like a business. You're a not-for-profit, you have some tax advantages, but run it like a business. And it was great advice.
Absolutely. That's what I have done since I came to the chamber, is run it like a business. It is a business, and if I don't know how to run this business, what am I doing running an organization that helps other people run their business? So, and that's what I always try and think of when we think of programming and events, is how does that tie into ultimately helping our members? And our not-for-profits, what I love about them is they've connected with a lot of our businesses. So like for our teams, for example, you know, they'll adopt a not-for-profit and you know, start building those relationships. So awareness for our not-for-profits, and I think it's a great opportunity for us to give them a voice.
So when you've been in here, we've discovered now 2 years, it seems like.
2 years at the end of next month.
Right. So when you look back and you think, gosh, where you are now to when you first took it, and even, you know, a couple years back when you decided to get out of the fitness business and try something new, how has all that kind of led to where you are now?
Well, if there's one thing that I'm guilty of, is not acknowledging and recognizing what I've done. I just keep moving forward.
Right.
But because it's not about me, it's about all of the people surrounding me, I am in awe of what we have done. A big push for me is our youth in our community, our young leaders. If the chamber wants to maintain its relevance, we have to start bringing in those young community leaders. So we've created a legacy program, which is an opportunity for our over 40 chamber members and our under 40 chamber members to come together and share ideas, kind of an incubator of sorts, if you will, to share ideas, to share professional development, resources, things like that, so that they can teach each other. And I love that idea. We're also going to be having a 4 under 40 next year, which gives our young leaders an opportunity to be recognized for what they do. It's not a win or a lose, it's a recognition, what they're doing to make the community a better place. And that's really how we have to think. So that's what we're doing as we're doing forward. We've got to be relevant, and we have to be innovative if we're to be here 10 years from now.
I have no doubt that you're gonna make and leave a big legacy, even though you really it's not about you. Yeah. I know, but it is a little bit about you, because everything you've done leads you to this to help us continue to grow. So
thank you.
Thanks for spending some time with me.
Thank you. It was fun.
It was fun. Good to see you.
You too.
Good.